Hello, welcome to the Combo Chats podcast. This week we're going to be going over the previous week's main card as well as the upcoming one. Last week's quite a big card, and we're joined by Solly once again, as well as, well, we're with Finn as well. Obviously, always, never not. Anyway, Finn, if you'd like to start us off.
Yeah, so starting off UFC 278, which was a massive card for us in the UK. Not gonna lie, it was a bit of a rough one. I think I got to bed about 7 a.m. and I got out for work the next day, so not ideal. And
That's what we do.
yeah, especially for a fight like that, we support our guys, stay up and
We
watch.
also don't do it for the fights like that.
When we do it for a bloody fight night these days. But yeah, anyway, so the first fight again is kicked off. We had Tyson Pedro against Harry Hunsucker, which was an interesting fight for as long as it lasted. Tyson Pedro, if we're all honest, no disrespect meant by this, but was he seemed levels above in just all round skill. He's shown he's very capable on the ground, so I'm sure he would have looked perfectly fine if it went there too. But he didn't need that. He's been trailing in I think it's Auckland with Izzy and Volk.
Eugene Barrowman as well.
Yeah, Eugene, who I think was coach of the year last year. So that shows the levels and a lot of good strikers coming out of there. And you could see that straight away, the way he was feinting. Hunsucker he got hit by that jab and it didn't look like he could really get started. And the front kick up the middle was as brutal as you can get as a body kick, proper stabbed in with the toes. I don't know what your thoughts were, Solly.
Yeah, I mean, it's all there for you. Right, go and watch it, it's all there. But as well, it's just, it's nice as well to get a round started off like that. I mean, he let Hunsucker know that he was there. And I think you see a lot of fights, if you let someone know you're there
early on, yeah,
and you're kind of going to get into that rhythm. I mean, not always, but I mean, you need to fire back straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, a jab making you react like that, it's either you get
busy or
don't go ahead at all and just end up on the floor getting beaten.
Yeah, one thing you said to me on the night, which I agreed with you, what was it about not knowing what's around you?
Yeah, of course.
I can't remember what you said.
Kind of like it's not just about what's happening when they're coming at you.
Yeah,
it's about like you mentioned a minute ago, the feints.
Yeah,
stuff
exactly.
Like that. And it's just the actual movement of a fighter. Like you look at some of them and you can tell they're obviously
switched on.
Yeah, and a lot like levels above some. I mean, Hunsucker's just stood there really, waiting. And Tyson Pedro, he had that what we call an aura around a certain fighter. That
definitely he came into that one very confident, and I watched a video on Israel Adesanya's channel and he was brimming with confidence. So what about you, Fergal? I know you will have roughly the same to say, but how impressed were you with Tyson Pedro?
I thought Tyson Pedro looked really, really good. It was a relatively comfortable win for him. I mean, it didn't last very long, about only a few minutes or so, if that. But I mean, overall, it was generally very comfortable, and he looked very good, very clean, very accurate, very switched on. Harry Hunsucker, he's not done great in the UFC so far. It was his first time down at heavyweight, but down from heavyweight, sorry. Yeah. To light heavyweight. But I mean, generally pretty good performance of Tyson Pedro and a nice opening to the main card.
Anyone got anything to add?
Getting cut.
Yeah, that is actually quite the truth, to be honest.
0-4.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I think earlier on the build up to this, I mean, he was undefeated before he came to the UFC. But it just shows what the UFC is really about, doesn't it? Like,
there's a fighter later on who was also undefeated coming into the UFC. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he struggled a lot too. So for getting us into the next one, we had Yanan Wu against Lucy Padolovic. Something like that.
Yeah, so this fight was very much, it took place on the ground primarily. A lot of pinning, a lot of just keeping them grounded really, and a lot of good strikes and whatnot. Fights like this, they're interesting to watch because
show you to the other side.
But for the most part, it was pretty standard really. She just held it down, outpowered her and just striked over and over and over again.
Yeah, she transitioned very well from mount to side control to gaining her guard, and the second round was more the same as the first. She really busted her up with elbows, and I think one of the commentators said she needs to get busy, but she was busy.
She took the back as well. She took the back, tried working from the back, but again, I mean, just wasn't quite there for her taking the back, and then she switches back around and just completely
she
drops
mauled her.
elbows and elbows and elbows. It's not nice being in that position, is it? I mean, you've got to do something with the ref. As we've seen, as the years have gone on, the ref is just going to stop that.
Yeah, I mean, me and Fergal called Padalova to win last week because I think we both said that the aggression, who was the more aggressive fighter, who had the better killer instinct, really showed clear, and that was clear from the off bat. Like she really wanted to go forward and hurt her, so I was very impressed with her. They've both been in the UFC a long time, and they were both on, I think, 3-fight losing streaks as well. So
it's winner takes all.
Very important fight for Padalova to get the win. That's a big win for her, and she looked very impressive as well. Like she stayed on the feet for a lot of her previous fights, but she looked dominant on the ground, and I was very impressed with her performance. So anyway, we'll go straight into the next one. Fergal, how about you start us off with Aldo against Dashvili?
So our first fight, it was interesting. I don't think that I feel like we both called it. Well, we both went Aldo, I think. I went Aldo because I didn't really know he was going to win. If I wanted someone I quite like the Aldo. Yours had a lot more knowledge behind it. I feel like we can say that neither of our predictions on how the fight would go out,
Definitely.
Came of any fruition really. Aldo, we spoke about a takedown defense. Yeah, it was there.
I think it was,
really good.
He stuffed 16 out of 16 takedown attempts.
Did you get taken out?
Did the last one not count?
Well,
both went to his knees.
On Google it says
Really?
it doesn't count.
Because what happened was in the fight, it comes up on the screen. It says he's defended all 15 takedowns, and then he got
dragged to the knees.
Both knees did.
Yeah, well, it was similar with Kobe and Usman in their
Knees,
second fight, and that didn't count either. Okay. So, but in my opinion, that's a takedown.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, the fight was kind of like we expected, but I think Aldo was just a lot more inactive. What was your thoughts on it, Sorry?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but before this is prior Mirai's fight. I don't know if you remember. Every time a Mirai fight would come up,
we'd all have the same reaction.
We'd get really annoyed because he'd start striking, right? And then you think, oh yeah, cool, he's getting a rhythm of striking, and it shoots.
Yeah.
And there was that one fight just before Mirai, so I can't remember who he was fighting, but it was just every time he was striking into a rhythm, and it'd just be like, oh, here we go.
I got a feeling Casey Kenny was one before that.
It was, and it was just a couple of strikes.
Yeah, and it looks like he's starting to hurt them, and really
I mean, look what he did to Moraes.
Yeah.
It's not just anything.
Yeah.
He's had a few finishes himself.
Yeah, Moraes to even survive that punishment, it was scary. The chin he showed, it was scary. But Fo, what have you got to add on this one?
So I mean, at the fight, I feel like watching Jose fight. I mean, he was fatiguing fairly easily. Probably through the altitude, it's a possibility. But I'm saying that maybe he's adept to that. Who knows? But overall, as a fight, it was disappointing. Not a bad fight. I don't think Jose Aldo was completely inactive, but he just wasn't really doing enough.
Yeah, I felt like at many points he could have broke away. Like I think was it the second round he was yawning against the cage, and
there's no need for that.
You got to work.
Do something.
You got to work.
Yeah, that was whilst he was yawning. It didn't look as if anything was happening other than him just letting himself get kneed.
Yeah.
Literally, and I mean it's a shame really because I felt like a lot of fight did play out like that. Just a lot of holding into the cage. Just a lot of Jose Aldo not really responding. I didn't throw as many leg kicks as I thought he might have, which is something which I thought really.
I feel like the knees he used well, which we spoke about, but just not enough.
I mean, the body shot was there at one point. He caught that, but Mirage laughs.
Yeah.
It didn't look like a light one either.
Aldo can rip to the body.
He did have a few moments throughout the whole fight where some punches did get through. Of course, I mean they are going to, right? You'd hope so. Anyway, with a striker of his pedigree. Well, a fighter of his pedigree, I should say, but it's just each round is quite similar.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but I saw a video backstage. He was crying with, I think, his wife or fiance, and he looked distraught. And I also think that's because deep down he knows he just didn't do enough. He knows he could have done more to win that fight, and it's a real shame because Aldo, I'm sure, is one of all of our favourite fighters ever, and he was that one win away from getting another title shot at this late on in his career.
I think I think that's the whole point in it all. It's
definitely.
just I don't think it. Do you think it should happen?
Well,
I mean,
not now, but
yeah.
I think, to be honest, I think a couple of wins he could get back in the same position, but I don't think he wants to put himself through that.
I mean, the guy did it for 10 years, you know.
Yeah, and he's fought multiple generations of fighters.
And he still is. It's amazing. It's
at the top level.
I mean, fair play to him still. It is.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next fight. The next fight was Paulo Costa Luke Rockhold bout.
Yeah, it was an interesting one.
Well, not bad at all. I mean, to be fair, I was fairly impressed with Luke Rockhold. Like, obviously, you know, Paulo Costa did what Paulo Costa does. But I thought he looked very good, especially considering he had fought in, 2 years? You know, so I thought he looked quite good. He had some really nice kicks as well.
Yeah.
But I know that looking at the first round, I think the significant strikes were something like 40-something to less than 10.
I can't remember it perfectly, but did Paulo got the takedown in the first, was it?
No, I know he shot for a few. I don't know if he.
Yeah. Well, I remember he.
Yeah, because I think the judges got paranoid about saying, "Oh, can't be underneath this quick."
Well, yeah, and I was very surprised mainly about, obviously, Luke's known for having one of the most dominant top games in MMA, and Paulo dealt with him very well on the ground. For me, that was the most impressive thing. Fergal, what do you think about the heart that Luke showed this late on and being knocked out so many times? Obviously, we both questioned his chin. That to show that much heart, it was an inspiring night, and Luke Rockhold put a lot towards that.
I feel like with someone like Luke Rockhold and whatnot, people just they tend to look at previous couple of fights and think to themselves that they make a definitive, decision. But you can't make that judgment, because if you look at the last few fights, there's nothing, there's nothing embarrassing, or there's no. It's something which is expected to happen. There are two fighters which you'd have to expect to have that knockout power. Maybe they
Romero and it was Romero and obviously Jan Blachowicz, who is famous for Polish power, and obviously Bisping. I asked you this question last week, and we spoke a bit about Bisping on 2 weeks' notice coming out, because he knew he couldn't go 5 rounds. He said that multiple times, and coming out trying to take Rockhold's head off. So it was 3 knockouts, and me and Fergal really went into the question if his chin was still there, and I think he showed it was. So, Solly, what was your thoughts?
You talk about the chin still being there as well, but also a good point you brung up as we were talking about the build up to this is about his thing around Paulo being able to just destroy people.
Yeah.
But, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, we spoke about if his knockout power was kind of overrated, me and you.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, there was points in this fight where he's hitting Rockhold, and then he'd hit him once, right, and you could see Rockhold's not liking it, and he doesn't seem to pounce on him properly. I mean, he did. I mean, of course, he took him down, but I feel like a lot of his attacks were like, I'm not going to say half-hearted.
Yeah.
But, I feel like, when you've got someone in front of you like Rockhold as well, who was coming back, that left hand was there all night. That's the one he stung Costa with a few times.
I think that was the thing that kind of stopped that. Is every time Costa looked to rock him, he got smashed with a head kick or left straight or body kick.
Mate, those 3 flurries of those left body kicks made fair play to Costa.
Just tapping his stomach, walking forward.
Him, mate, like his kicks, and it was really nice to see he span into a body kick, and it's just nice to see Rockhold display some of the things he can actually do, because we all know he's at like a high level.
Yeah, I think we all got into MMA a bit later, so we never got to see a prime Rockhold performance. And for you, Fergal, what was it like seeing Rockhold come out and show not always the heart, but still the spinning body kicks, how powerful he still is? Obviously, you can go into a bit about his cardio, that kind of maybe the altitude again, but so like, how impressed were you with Luke's general skills still at this age?
I mean, it's really quite impressive to see. He hasn't fought in a couple of years. He's getting up there now. How old would you say?
37, yeah.
37, so, kind of around that later stage. And I think he might have announced the retirement.
Yeah, he did. Took his gloves off in the cage.
Took his gloves off as well, so, but to be able to perform like that, I think a lot of the time people underestimate or people overestimate the loss of skill. They think, you get in later into your career, you lose your skill. A lot of the time, it's not the skill you're losing. It's your, it's your physical. It's just your physical health and your physicality, and So, but regardless, it's really impressive to see, especially considering, because I know we were talking about him going into this fight, and Paulo Costa is not an easy opponent whatsoever.
No.
He's just an absolute machine, physical specimen. So, but to be able to see, Rockhold put in that much heart and that intensity, yes, you could question his cardio, but even if it's not to be the outshoot, he's 37.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it's very, very good to see.
Yeah, I mean, he said it himself, didn't he? At the end of the fight, he's there, and you can tell he says, he swears, of course. Am I not swearing on the podcast?
You just swear, man.
I'm not. I think he said it just, I'm fucking old.
Yeah, he was like, I can't do this, man. I'm fucking old.
Yeah, but it did give me goosebumps. See him. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've not really saying many good words about
We're English. That's all you need to know about us as a Rockhold fan.
My life until tonight.
Yeah.
And fair play to the bloke. I mean, of course, he's retired, but Costa, I mean, where does he go?
Yeah, I think
just feeding people.
Are we going to be harsh here, or are we going to? He can have a lot of fun fights, and I'm pretty sure, interestingly, that was the last fight in his UFC contract, and there's a bit of murmuring that he might not re-sign with the UFC. So could we see him somewhere else? Imagine him in like bare knuckle. That'd be crazy.
Is he the type of guy to do that?
Nah, I think he thinks he's too pretty. Do you know what I mean? He cares a lot about that sort of stuff.
Where would you see him go though? I mean, were they
one PFL, I think, are paying. I mean, Shane Burgos just left the UFC and went to PFL, which is crazy, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think to be honest, he will re-sign with the UFC. He says he only had $30,000 for the Vettori fight, which to be honest, he didn't deserve $30,000 because I think he missed weight by 20 or 25 pounds and he just didn't tell anyone.
This is another thing with him as well, is of course stuff like that.
He's not reliable.
That is attitude outside of the UFC that speaks.
Definitely.
And he's not allowed to moan about that, P, when he's...
Alright, yeah, we will move on, but there's one more thing about this fight I have to get both your opinions on. And it was when Luke Rockhold Paulo had him in his guard, and Luke was just rubbing blood all over his face from on top. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah.
He was just rubbing all the blood all over him.
Yeah.
Paulo was just laughing. How weird was that? Alright, the question I'll ask is, do you guys think that, or the time Rockhold got knocked out by Romero and was getting kissed against the cage, what was weirder?
I think the Romero one's weirder, right?
Yeah.
But I think that Rockhold thinks he's been a gangster by
definitely.
and you just because we've seen Rockhold speak over the years, and you just know he's underneath Paulo. Like instead, maybe if he wiped it off his hands and rubbed it on his face, but
he's kissing him, man. He's kissing. He was smooching his neck.
Yeah, I think you know what's going through his head. Oh, this is gonna look gangster.
He's like, I better look so fucking cool right now. What are your thoughts on that, Paul?
I honestly don't know which one's worse. I really don't.
It's a close one.
I say the Your Romero one, although it was very strange. I suppose you could maybe potentially, dismiss it as just being courteous. But
Romero, if we're honest,
that's scary.
Romero had a vibe. I'm not going to say what sort of vibe it was, but I think we can all kind of come to the same conclusion where you do not want to be anywhere near that guy. Yeah. He can do what he wants. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's what the whole point is.
Yeah, it seemed very creepy.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah. I think. Well, I remember watching that. I was just like, this guy's the scariest guy I've ever seen. He's just knocked him out cold. Luke Rockhold had no idea where he is, and Romero just kissing him on the forehead against the cage. It was so weird.
Do you think Romero was actually trying to be nice? Because I know, and maybe he was saying things, but it just, from as you said, he looked scary, so it just didn't look nice.
Yeah, I think Romero, he's obviously a very religious and caring man, so I think it was all in good heart, but
it just didn't look like that.
No, it was a weird one. But yeah, I love the heart Luke showed.
We all know his true love is Michael Bisping.
I love you, Mike. Yeah, that's interesting how long that lives on, because even today, Usman released an interview and he says to Leon, "I'll see you soon, boy," afterwards, because that's what Romero says. So Romero is an icon, man.
Yeah, just because I feel like... But I think part of it is because he was... if he could speak better English, he'd say the same things, but I think because of that is what, made it better.
Yeah, definitely. So, anyway, getting into the big one. I want to hear some passion in this one, boys, because how big was this for the UK? What do you think about this one, Fergal?
I mean, it's just such an underdog story, isn't it, really?
Oh man,
And I'm not even just from a fight point of view, but just overall, over the entire career of Leon Edwards. It was honestly watching it. If you wouldn't have thought that he was going to win it, he looked like he was getting dominated for almost all of it. I mean, first round, maybe not, but for the most part, it was being absolutely dominated, and he looked like he was watering, ready to go. But amazing, really.
Yeah.
And really interested to see. I wouldn't have thought, if I were to watch that then I wouldn't have thought to myself that this is going to be the next welterweight champ. 4 rounds in.
Yeah, definitely. What do you? Obviously, Leon had the very good first round. Going into the second round, what were you thinking at the time? How it was going to play out? Because obviously he takes the back in the first round, and he was the first person to officially take Kamaru Usman down. So, what were you thinking going into the second, and to see it play out how it did?
I mean, it was one of those things. I had a feeling that it may have potentially gone like that. Just for fate of the fight. So watching it, if I'm honest with you, I think last week I called Usman. Which not because I didn't want Evers to win, but obviously
I think it was going very much how you thought it would go.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But honestly, like going to second round, it did look like it was going to be over Leon. To be fair, it looked like it was going to be over for Leon 4, if not 5 rounds, 5 rounds in. But overall, I'm glad I didn't get out way, and I'm generally savage knockout as well.
Yeah. To see Usman like that, it was weird. Let's hear your thoughts on this, Solly. Like, this was mad. I remember your reaction at the time.
Look at me now.
Yeah, your reaction at the time.
Mate, I was I just sounded like a little girl, didn't I?
Yeah,
I was there like,
oh man,
because it's just that's what this sport does, right? But the first round, you have faith because that was a brilliant opening round for Leon. And like you said, you come into the second, and all the way up until what happened, you are in your head. I feel like, I don't know if anyone else has any, if you can look into the future, but right then, I guarantee we're all thinking, we're not going to see Edwards lift that belt tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
I just can't, I've got goosebumps talking about it.
I'm not going to lie, this kind of brought a tear to my eye, especially the interview afterwards. And for Leon to be down, I think it was 3 rounds to 1 in the 5th round, and definitely 3 rounds to 1 in the 5th round, and with a minute to go, and you hear I think it's his younger brother, Fabian Edwards. You hear him shout seconds before the knockout, "Throw the head kick, Leon!" And he smashes him with it. Honestly, I think that, playing part because he comes from our place, is the 2nd British champion ever. I think that is the most shocked I've ever been watching this sport live. I don't feel like I've ever felt like that. Well, I know I haven't ever felt like that.
It's something else, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I think as well, it's just we've been waiting so long for this.
Yeah, so long.
When was the Bisping?
Bisping, 2012, like around those years, 2012 to 2014.
You don't even watch then.
No.
So
I wasn't watching live then.
That's what we knew about him doing it, and we've seen this.
Yeah,
this has happened in our lifetime, and I hope this is a statement to so many British fighters that we can do it, because I feel like this country actually produces
I mean, the level of strikers that come out of this country.
I mean, that's got to be roots from boxing, right? Yeah. Stuff like that. And it's just, I think from here, it'd be really nice to see people start looking up to it. And if he can go on a few title defences.
Yeah.
And
if he can beat Usman in the rematch, in the trilogy, how big of a star will he be? So, what was your thoughts? Obviously, the interview afterwards and all the emotion. I don't know if you guys saw, but backstage on the phone, crying his eyes out to his mum, literally breaking down, just crying on FaceTime to his mum. Oh man, what were your thoughts on how proud were you at the moment when you could see how much that meant to Leon?
I mean, it was mental, really. You said about the post-fight interview. He said some very interesting things, and I can't remember word by word, but he spoke about where he came from, and he spoke a lot about just the ups and downs of his career, and being told that no, a lot of people saying that he couldn't have done it and whatnot, and no one's a pound for pound, no one's won the belt. But I'm talking about his origins in Jamaica and whatnot. It's all just very, very interesting. And to see him, there are a lot of fighters, become champions and whatnot. They seem very humble, and he was gassed, honestly, and it was just so exciting to see. And with his corner as well, it's a bit mental, really. His corner probably won him that fight.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think I don't know who. Oh, man, I feel I'm annoyed at myself for not coming in with the name of his cornerman. That's a bit poor from me, but man, that guy, I've heard Leon speak about him so much because I don't know if you guys knew, but Leon's dad got murdered at quite a young age. He was heavily involved in gangs, and so so Leon very much speaks to this guy being a father figure, and I heard Leon talking about his mum was just crying, thanking the coach over and over again for like a 5-minute voice note. Leon, you can see Leon looks at that guy like a father, and when you've got that relationship between a coach and a fighter, they're destined for great things.
Dave Lavelle,
yeah, mate,
yeah. Honestly, that was legendary.
It's just. I think what am I trying to say? Sorry, I'm so full of emotion.
With this fight.
What I'm trying to get at is I think it just shows as well what the mind of Leon Edwards and what's actually inside him. Like, because a lot of fighters, it doesn't matter if Fabian Edwards shouted, "Get the head, like do the head kick." There's so many fighters that would have been in the same position that could have done something similar. And I'm not saying to Usman, but like overall, that it just wouldn't have happened. They just would have got worn out again.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the ground after the 5th round.
Do you know the thing for me is, obviously at the time I wasn't thinking this, but when you watch it back, that 5th round, it was like a bit like Leon was possessed.
Switch.
Because he gets taken down and he just stands up. Like, that's what he does. He stands up and then he goes to the body, to the legs a couple of times and sets up that head kick. Anyone who says it's a fluke does not know martial arts and striking at all, because the way he set that up is he pumped out the jab, faked the left hand, and as Usman dipped out the way, blasted him with that head kick, and Usman's eyes rolled back. It was one of the cleanest head kick knockouts we've seen in the UFC, and for him to get that in that moment, that puts him up there forever. That puts him up there with Bisping already. For like, him and Bisping will forever be remembered in the UK as our 2 best martial artists, until someone like Tom Aspinall or maybe an Arnold Allen can come and match them. No one will put anyone on the same pedestal as them, because honestly, especially, we don't like to do it easy. Bisping took the fight on 2 weeks' notice and managed to beat someone who seemed untouchable at the time. Leon Edwards was fighting not just the best fighter in his weight class, the best fighter in the whole UFC. If you comprehend that, he's ranked higher in pound for pound than John Jones, than Israel Adesanya, than Francis Ngannou. He's considered a better fighter than all these guys, and Leon Edwards managed to knock him out.
Finn, pound for pound don't matter.
Pound for pound don't matter.
It doesn't own to anyone.
It was crazy, man. Like, if you really think about all the factors of it, it's the most legendary win in UFC history. I'll go as far as to say that. If you
asked me last week what the best head kick knockout I saw was, I would have said probably Chito Vera, Cruz. Similar kick.
Yeah, setup, very similar.
But nowhere nearly as technical, mate. That was...
it was...
The kick came up at the same time as the jab. You watch that in slow motion, mate. And of course, they were drilling it, as we've seen it come out.
Yeah.
And, Usman said, what did he,
Yeah, he said if he's done his homework, it will be a very interesting fight.
He did.
Yeah, it was amazing. Have anyone got any final thoughts on that one?
I mean, the only thing I can really say about this fight, which hasn't been said already, was that 5th round was just... I mean, what do you think of it? Like, obviously, we speak about corner and whatnot a little bit, but what was said to him between the 4th and 5th round, that is truly Rocky-like. That's a Rocky speech.
Yeah.
And with Leon Edwards, and it was really interesting because you said that if people say they don't know what people say about a fluke and whatnot, they don't know anything about martial arts. He was just so composed and so clever. There are so many fighters who would have went out there swinging.
Yeah, and going out there with a guy swinging with like Usman will get you knocked out.
I mean, as well, you look at the whole fight. You hit him with that uppercut. I mean, I mean, what else about the fight though did you think? I don't think we've touched on anything through the before.
We'll go into
the fight.
Yeah,
as well.
we'll go into the fight a bit more. So obviously the first round, Leon, the striking exchanges started. I like the way he was stamping to the knee and oblique leg kicks. He was managing distance very well. He was, from even straight away, you could see, in my opinion, he was too comfortable fighting off the back foot. That's what my original thought was. He was doing very well kicking the legs, which I said last week Leon needs to. I know it might get him taken down, but I said that I think he'll be able to get back up, and he needs to take the risk of a heavy kick game. And to be honest, now you look back on that, how right was that? Because all the kicks set up to the final kick in the 5th round, Usman was very dominant throughout the fight. Edwards was able to get back up on pretty much every occasion relatively fast, but yeah, it was yeah.
Yeah, I did think this watching the fight because, of course, I mean, it's really clever from Usman and his team. They knew they had to back Edwards up, and that's what happened. He backed Edwards up and tried to get him to the ground, but it comes back to the point of Edwards did enough to get himself to that 5th round.
Yeah.
Edwards did enough to set himself up for that head kick. That's what happened.
He didn't ever look like Usman had the power to finish him. Like, he got hit with some clean shots to the body, to the head, and Edwards looked composed at every moment. I think, again, going into that altitude, I think that was a problem for a lot of fighters, and that on top of Kamaru Usman's his pace to keep up with Kobe like he did. His pace is scary, and Leon stuck in there and managed to find the knockout, and that's what champions are made of at the end of the day.
British champions are made of.
Finally. Yes. And I love the fact that he's Jamaican born. He can represent, like, so many people are going to be looking up to him.
Yeah,
from Jamaica, from England, from Birmingham. They're a massive fight city, and they're a massive fight city, and they've got one of the biggest gyms in England, and they've produced a lot of great fighters, and I'm sure...
There's 1 million people in Birmingham, makes a lot of people.
Yeah, how many kids in Birmingham are going to wake up and go to the gym the day after that? Like, he's inspired a generation of people who are going to be in the UFC in the future.
I mean, I'm not from Birmingham, I'm stepping back.
I felt like going for a run. I watched that, I wanted to go for a run.
Get the pads out there.
Yeah. Oh, man, it was crazy. So, on the next card... There's a few interesting fights. I don't know how much you guys want to go into it.
I can go into a few, yeah.
But I don't know if you want to do the last 3 or what's your thoughts?
See where it goes.
I reckon we go top 3. Pretty interesting fights.
Yeah. So I'll get started off with the Cheriko fight against Kopylov. Is that how you'd pronounce it? Kopylov. Yeah. So I think they're both strikers, they both rely on their striking. Cheriko, he's a very heavy hitter. He doesn't necessarily, he's quite slow. He doesn't necessarily overwhelm people, but with those hooks, he charges in with those hooks and he can really damage you from it. We've seen in a lot of previous fights that, I can't remember what guy was fighting, but if you move a lot, the Cheriko can't really keep up because he's so interested in fighting in one way of we've got to be in the pocket and we've got to kind of fight this way. But if you can move around the cage, he doesn't really check leg kicks that much. So kick his legs. Kopylov, I think I'm pretty sure he was 8-0 coming into the UFC. And he's lost his first 2 fights in the UFC. He fought Albert Duriv, which he's shown to be a very good striker. I think the straight shots will be a very good recipe because Cheriko, he's very reliant on those hooks. So I think if I had to give a prediction, I think it's a close one. Cheriko's fought a lot. He's got some good wins on it under his record, but I got a feeling Kopilov's going to get his first win in the UFC this weekend.
I mean, it's an interesting one, really. I think that with Cheriko, one thing I've noticed about him is that he's very patient. He's very analytical. I feel like he tries to pick his shots.
Yeah.
And I think the issue with him is because he's too focused, not necessarily too focused on that, but because he spends so much time thinking about picking his shots, it doesn't look like he always thinks about defense. And I know that the last time he was out, was that Kyiv? head kick.
Yeah, I think so. I
thinking
can't remember 100%, but
who was it? Yeah. No, it wasn't. It
was
wasn't.
that against who was it against? Well, I think it was the head kick, wasn't it? Against God, what's the guy? My mind's gone completely blank. Against Al Hassan, was it?
Al Hassan, yeah.
No. So either lost.
He got head kicked.
Yeah. But
Oh,
I was talking about Buckley.
Oh right. Oh yeah. He cleared
Yeah.
I
Buckley,
mean, look who he's been fighting. Though. That's
yeah.
fair play.
Because was that Buckley's first fight after the Impa Kasanganay fight, and he just got that, or it might have been he might have got a knockout again after that, and then got a head kick by Jericho, and it was very ironic because coming off such a massive head kick win, and to be finished by head kick as well.
I mean, look at who Jericho's been fighting. It's a statement. I mean, what we did see Al Hassan get knocked out by Chaos.
Yeah.
But then to get beaten by him and Buckley.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think couple of I can't remember what martial art he did beforehand, but he's a master in it, and it's a martial art that's very similar to MMA. It's like,
where's he from?
I'm not 100%. It's not a martial art I heard of before. I just saw it when I was doing research, and to be considered a master, I think you need like 100 fights.
Oh, okay.
So he's had 100 fights in something very similar to MMA.
Fight time.
Yeah. So he might look the more inexperienced guy, but he's been fighting a very long time.
When you find out these fights last like 20 minutes each.
Yeah, he's finished a lot of people. So it's an interesting one.
Russian, but I'm interested to see what his martial art was. He said he's a master in it, right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what I read.
I'll just have a look because that's very interesting. Interesting.
Pull that.
Stand up, I imagine.
Yeah, it was I'm not 100%.
Sambo too?
Yeah, maybe. I don't feel like that's what it was.
Sambo.
Yeah, I've heard of Sambo.
Combat Sambo?
Not sure. I can't remember what it was.
But that's got a lot of MMA like, a lot of MMA like styles and I say styles, MMA like style, not but so
it might have just been the way the website worded it, to be honest. But yeah, so what are your boys' thoughts on this? What's your prediction?
Well,
it's a hard one to call because they're both sort of up and down, but
I mean, I know just enough about them both, but I'm just gonna sit back and watch this one as a spectator. I don't want to go in. I don't want to go in and make any judgments and look like a.
Yeah, fair enough. You got to go shoot your shot, man. Just give a name.
Jericho.
Yeah, fair enough.
Honestly, it's a hard one, really. I just feel like if Jericho is anything like what he has been in his past couple of fights, just with the inactivity, obviously, he got a lovely, kick on Buckley, but do you remember watching it back?
Yeah, what, the Buckley one?
Yeah,
I do remember because Buckley was kind of winning the exchanges. I'm pretty sure he was a big favourite at the time, and I remember he was getting backed up. And Jericho, you hear the sound of his shots. He hits hard.
Yeah.
And he's built. I've never heard of this. He's an Italian pro footballer, like an American football style. He played for some team. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, he played I don't
Athletic.
know. Yeah, I don't know what they call it, if they just call it American football or whatever.
But it will be American football. Yeah.
It
will be.
So yeah, he was a player in that, and you can tell because he is built top heavy. He's a beast, man, and
good rotation on
him. I remember the kick just kind of bounced off the top of Buckley's head, and he folded. He wasn't completely out, but yeah, it was a beautiful finish.
I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah. I remember it was a big knockout at the time. So obviously we've got some a few bigger fights to talk about. I'm very interested to see how that goes.
We should give a quick shout out to the Makadesi Hasbrat fight though. Not to go into it, just to say, who do you reckon who we got on that?
Yeah. All right, I can talk about that one.
I mean,
Makadesi. I think he's 20-0 as a kickboxer, and he's also a Taekwondo black belt, and you can see that in his fighting style. He's one of the only fighters. He uses side kicks a lot. To be honest, without breaking it down too much, I'll just give you a prediction straight away. I think Hakprasti is a very powerful boxer with not great head movement, and when you're facing such a good counter striker, how do you say it? Makadesi's nature, I think he'll be able to pick him apart. And Hakprast, it's a pick 'em fight for me, but I think Hakprast's head movement will let him down in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think shout out to Bobby Green for beating Hasbrat.
That's the fight that kind of makes me go the other way.
Yeah, of course. I just
Bobby
had to
Green
do that.
just.
You should go know if I ever come on. I'm a Bobby Green super
Oh yeah,
fan.
I was actually going to bring that fight up and say how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but oh yeah, I'm just gonna go Hasbras. I think Hasbras got it in him because you saw the Makadesi Bahamondes fight where Bahamondes he got battered in that fight.
He obviously he's produced a lot of great highlights for us.
Of course, but I think that to me tells that Hasbras has a toughness as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm gonna go Hasbras.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's a close fight. I think Hasbras can end it at any moment. And he showed that. Well, so Fergal, do you want to get us on to the co-main?
No. So before moving to co-main, Makadesi. Co-main is the Robert Whittaker Marvin Vettori fight. I talk about Marvin Vettori quite a lot, even when I'm not supposed to.
But same with me and Bobby Green.
yeah. So it's not because I love him. I'm just an idiot. But basically, so this is.
I really like Marvin Vettori.
So do I. But I don't know. I feel like there's just certain things about him, aren't there? Really?
Yeah, he's a knucklehead. Did Sean Strickland call him like the smartest dumbass he's ever seen or something? He was like, I'm a dumbass, and Marvin Vettori's more of a dumbass than me.
But yeah, no, this should be a really, really interesting one. I feel like Marvin Vettori, he's very good, but don't you think there are certain little things about him, like just the way he fights, the certain little like behaviours and whatnot, which just really hold him back. For example, like look at Marvin Vettori, I think he's such a headhunter, and it harmed him so much. He's got a good boxing ability. I mean, he's got some good knees, to be fair.
Yeah.
His knees are really good, especially in the combinations, and obviously, he's got amazing jiu-jitsu. But at the stand-up fight, he just hunts that head so much. It's like it's the only thing he wants to hit, ever.
It's not like, for me, although I think this fight is a lot closer than people are making out, I think you've got to have some sort of real power to beat Whittaker. That's just my thought straight away. Izzy has the pop and the skill to beat Whittaker, but I can't see any of these other middleweights beating Whittaker.
I mean, I was thinking about this earlier. It did come to my attention that, Vettori, he's quite a brutish fighter, he tries to get in there. And I mean, Whittaker's not that. Whittaker's something else. He's a really technical fighter, mate. And, I feel like if you start going at someone like Whittaker, he's got the strength to, put you back and tell you no, it's not what you're doing.
And also, it being a 3-round fight, Marvin, obviously, we know. I'd be shocked if Whittaker knocked out Marvin Vettori because that guy is made of granite. The beating Paulo Costa put on him after missing weight by that much, and obviously Vettori won that fight. They both put a beating on each other. Vettori's was worse, but Paulo landed some massive head kicks, body kicks. He had him rocked at points, but
when you have less brain cells
than Sean Strickland. But that's Sean Strickland's words, to be fair. I'm sure Marvin's not that stupid. I'm sure he wouldn't fight Pereira like Sean Strickland did. Definitely not. He'd take that guy down straight away. But no, that's my point is Vettori is a very underrated MMA fighter. He can do everything in MMA. He's a great boxer, great grappler. But Whittaker is that and more. So for me...
it's going to be Whittaker.
For me, it's going to be Whittaker. 5 rounds, I think Vettori would have more a chance to find a bit of his openings, but I think he'll win a decision.
I mean, is there anyone in the world that wouldn't say Whittaker, really?
I think I just can't see ways for Vettori to win. I don't know what your thoughts are, Fergal.
I mean, it's a hard one, really. I think that with Vettori, although he's got a very good stand-up ability, he does. I just feel like his head movement. Don't know if you've noticed, but his head movement is very limited. His response to getting hit is cover up.
It's
really
if
tight.
He does move his head, it's just side to side, isn't it?
And that's what I mean. It's just so limiting. I mean, he's good on the ground. But to take Whittaker down, you have to really...
I mean, Romero couldn't... When Romero hurt him, he was chucking him around the place, but until then, he couldn't really take down Robert Whittaker.
I think he has something like mid-70% takedown defence, which is mental,
Some of the best in the UFC.
Think of who he's fought.
Yeah, the top 5 takedown defence in the UFC.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, his accuracy's not great, but he does shoot from about 3 miles away. And then in all fairness, he had also fought He does shoot for a lot of takedowns, and he has fought some big fighters with great takedown. So wrestling's amazing. It's just it's just you have to look at who he's fighting. It's not like he doesn't know how to land a takedown.
I think a lot of the time he's not necessarily using it to take you down. He's using it to find different openings. But we've seen him. I think he could take down Marvin Vettori. I don't think it would be easy, but we've seen Whittaker take down Izzy multiple times. We've seen him take down Cannonier, Darren Till. He's took down a lot of good top level fighters. So I can't see Vettori. I think wins his fights by mixing the wrestling and boxing together. So that's why I got to go Whittaker decision. But what are your guys' predictions on this one? Is it same for you, Solly?
Yeah, of course, mate. Like what we said a minute ago, didn't we? It's Whittaker. I don't really see how many people could choose otherwise. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Whittaker back in the ring, mate. I love watching him.
I mean, I'd also have to go Whittaker decision. If I'm honest, I think Marvin Vettori. I feel like I feel like he's easier to dismiss than what he should be.
Definitely, he's a very good fighter.
Like he's very talented. And I don't. People just forget his just the level of what he is. I mean, how technical and how good he really is. But yeah. Anyway, moving on to the next one, a really big one. It's a main event heavyweight. Cyril Gane versus Tai Tuivasa.
Yeah, this is a very interesting fight at heavyweight. Tai wins. He's right up there for a title shot. Cyril obviously coming off the fight with Francis Ngannou. Without giving us a prediction, how do you kind of see the fight playing out, Solly?
I mean, right. Let's put this into I was thinking this on the way over quite deeply actually, because I mean he's just fought Francis Ngannou, right? A power puncher.
Yeah.
Didn't get knocked out by a power puncher. Maybe because Ngannou didn't want to go for it, or maybe because Ngannou wanted to showcase his wrestling.
Yeah.
And if you look at before that, we got the Volkov fight, really good fight, a technical fighter who could put people down, put it on him. And then you've got the Rosenstreich and Derek Lewis fight. Again, two big power punchers, big dudes who can knock you out.
Yeah. And
they had no answers really at some points. I mean...
No. What interests me is... Obviously, Ngannou was injured heavily with his knee in that fight. Of course. But Ngannou could not get near him in the stand-up for those first round and a half. That's why the fight was a lot closer than people remember, because Cyril Gane probably won the first 2 rounds, and the third round he almost submitted him with the leg lock. So, I mean, I'm not saying Cyril Gane won that fight, but people now think Cyril Gane's a bad grappler, and he got ragdolled by someone who's like the strongest guy ever in the UFC. He's like the strongest natural guy ever in the UFC, definitely.
Yeah, mate.
So, how do you kind of think this one's going to play out, folks?
So I think for this one, I feel like it's a good point you made, Solly, actually, about the big power punches. You look at Cyril Gane, he's only had 1 loss in the UFC, and that's against Ngannou.
Because that is only loss in MMA.
Only loss in MMA, sorry, not even the UFC, in pro MMA. So he's 10-1. Only loss against Francis Ngannou. He went with Francis Ngannou for 25 minutes and didn't get KO'd.
Yeah.
25 minutes. That is actually insane if you really think about it.
The only guy except Stipe to do it.
That's insane.
But not only that, you also say about, the other big punches he's fought. He went, almost 15 minutes with Derek Lewis. He went 25 with Volkov, 25 with Rosenstreich.
I think Volkov's a little different from the other two.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tuivasa, what was on about fits.
Yeah.
This same
It's someone who relies on that one punch. And Volkov's a very technical... Volkov can bang.
Yeah, mate, but he's also
a very high level kickboxer.
Of course. But what I'm trying to say regarding that, all of these heavyweights can knock out, and a lot of them have a great deal of knockouts. Volkov, for example, 23 wins by KO or TKO. Yes. So these are all guys who can do so.
Heavyweights, mate.
Cyril Gane, if you look at Cyril Gane as a heavyweight, he is amongst the most technical in the division. And I don't think Tai Tuivasa isn't technical at all. He's also technical, but the level of just pure martial artist technique. Like, you listen to him announce Tai Tuivasa, he's described as a street fighter.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. Fighting style street fighter from, New South Wales, Australia.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Walking into I'm a Barbie girl. I love it. Always.
It's this is the thing that, again, like, I'm going to have to go Gane, really. Gane decision.
But do you think that Gane obviously has some finishes in the UFC, but he hasn't shown
Derek Lewis.
Yeah, but he hasn't shown an ability to knock people out. And Ty having 5 rounds to chop at Gane's legs to find an opening. I kind of also agree with you because I thought the same with Ngannou, but Ty can, if anyone's going to find that knockout, Ty's a better mover than Derek Lewis. He's going to go more. Derek Lewis kind of likes to stay on the back foot and wait for that one shot. Ty will find that punch.
So Ty will be the fatty to put him down,
So
I can see him winning.
What's interesting about Ty though is because although these are all big power punches, not many people take it like Ty does.
No.
So they all knock each other out, and obviously Ty gets knocked out on that. But if you look at Greg Hardy and Derek Lewis, he was getting hit with some massive shots which are putting out most other heavyweights, and he just there trying to slug it back.
Yeah. Now the Derek Lewis one was crazy.
But it was absolutely insane. And I mean, assuming he's still got a chin from that, if fighting Cyril Gane 5 rounds, 25 minutes, if he can sustain it for long enough, it could be a matter of just outdoing Gane. Tuivasa, he's a big, strong guy. He's strong in a clinch. Takedown defense. All of these different factors and whatnot. I could potentially see him getting a knockout. I think Cyril Gane though, with his technical ability, his movement, and the way he switches his stance really. The way he switches stance is so frequent, and you don't see that very much with a lot of heavyweights who are technical. It's always just hits, and. So it's really interesting. I'm very excited to see this one, and I'm going to go with Tai Tuivasa. We go with round 3 KO.
Nice. I like.
You want to see him drink from the shoe?
Yeah,
Let's be real.
I wanted to. I think the fact that you go flat, obviously, you see a lot of the holes I do that. Gane's movement can be slowed down. I think Ty's the best. Him and Gane are the best leg kickers at heavyweight. If you eat 3 leg kicks off either, then you can be done from the fight. Like if he lands 5 solid leg kicks, that could be the opening. But that being said, I also think Gane's movement is so slick. And like I said earlier, people like to think he's a bad grappler. He can submit Tai Tuivasa too. Like he's got leg locks. He's got a lot of different submissions on his record too. And in my opinion, he's the best heavyweight striker of all time. I generally think that. I don't think there's anyone that even close, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think it being 5 rounds, being in Paris is interesting. Fighting for the first time since it's legalized in Paris. So this is his first ever fight in front of his people in MMA. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects him. I love the point about how good he is at switching stances, because him and Tom Aspinall both move like middleweights. Like you don't see that from a heavyweight.
Yeah, literally. Well, that's the thing. Is a good point you made about the movement actually, because as you said, it's so slick. There is nothing which is he's very bouncy. He's constantly bouncing
on his toes, which is so weird.
Well, yeah, exactly.
He's like Wonder Boy a bit, like
but about 200 and whatever pounds, but it's just mental, really. As you said about his striking and his technique, he is amongst the most technical fighter out there, and he's a lot more technical than a lot of fighters in other divisions. Obviously, I feel like the technical ability, although yes, it's always there, it begins to just decline slightly, and it does then become a bit more physicality.
Yeah.
But if you were to compare him to some, as you say, middleweights, maybe welterweights, his technique is just phenomenal. Head movement,
he's hard to touch, very hard to touch. So before we wrap up, because we've been pretty much going for an hour now, there's one more thing. I know you guys probably wouldn't have heard much about this, but the UFC recently signed a French kickboxing champion, Cedric Doumbé, I think his name is, and he was meant to be fighting this weekend at UFC Paris. And loads of stuff has gone on where he put a tweet out saying, "I never agreed to fight at UFC Paris." Something along the lines of, "Don't expect me to turn up there. You will not be seeing me fight." Then it came out that he got cut from the UFC. Then he said he hasn't been cut. He's agreed a new date. But for Paris to get one of their best kickboxers ever. That's a big blow to the card, man, because he was a glory champion, I think, at welterweight.
I know the name.
Yeah, his knockout power was scary. It was one touch gone, and it's just a bit frustrating to take that blow to the card.
Something about the card I'm quite annoyed about. The Andrade Manon Ferro.
Oh yeah, man.
Mate.
Is Ferro French too?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of fights. There's a lot of fights that were meant to be on this card. That is a shame.
Frenchies are getting butterflies, mate.
Yeah. Imagine
that.
that.
Manon Ferro Andrade, that was so.
Ferro
I really do hope they can get that fight.
Yeah, they'll rebook it.
Because Ferro is.
She looked insane. Strike.
One of those fighters, mate.
She's got the karate of like a Holly Holm, and then if people getting close, she'll just judo throw you like Ronda Rousey. It's crazy. It's like a merger of the two.
Got those it might be something to do with karate, maybe those straights, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I love a fighter who uses side kicks as well, man. I just love a good side kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Watch more karate combat.
Yeah. Karate combat. Raymond Daniels just went as well from Bellator. He's obviously, I think he's almost 40, but one of the best. I don't want to say one of the best kickboxers of all time, but one of the most entertaining kickboxers of all time. To see him in that, what do they call it, the domed square or something,
mate,
something like
amazing.
That would be so good. There's a lot of MVP lost to Mike Perry on the weekend. Michael Venom Page got beat by Mike Perry.
Mad.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. AJ obviously and Usyk. AJ and Usyk obviously happened.
The world of fighting right now.
Yeah, it's on fire, and this card we're all looking forward to it this week. I think we'll wrap up there. This has been the Combat Chatters podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, YouTube. But we've said many times, but we will be going heavy on YouTube soon. Share us around, tell your friends. We are looking to put a lot of effort into this and grow this podcast. We're all very excited going forward. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for listening. Cheers.